How you doing, everybody? Jonathan here, and in this video, and I think in about 7 minutes or less, I'm going to go over a topic that I get a lot of questions on, and that is what is the best diet for fat loss. A lot of trainers ask me what should they be serving to their clients, and they want to serve more than one thing. So I have 3 typical diets that I may explain to clients along with one accelerator, which I'll explain at the end, and hopefully that will give you more ammunition to speak to your clients. Now, by and large, when people ask what's the best diet for fat loss, I liken it to when people ask me what's the best exercise for staying healthy. Is it yoga? Is it Zumba, CrossFit, boot camp, bodybuilding, weightlifting? And the truth is, everything works for somebody. So the goal of any diet or eating plan is to make sure that your client can stay on this consistently. So I'm going to map out the 3 things that I use in order to help my clients see success. So the first thing that I usually default to is going to be the zone diet. And the zone diet allocates a certain amount of calories to carbs, proteins, and fats. And the split is going to be 40% carbs, 30% protein, and 30% fat. Now, a lot of people go wrong with this when they just think that all carbs, all fats, and all proteins are created equal. You do want to have high quality calories. So even though your main goal is to split 40-30-30, you don't want to have a lot of added sugar, you don't want to have a lot of alcohol, you don't want to have a lot of processed foods. And when you can decrease the amount of those foods in your diet, you're naturally going to see results. So I have clients that often send me their food journals and their breakdowns of their macronutrients. And they tell me, Jonathan, I'm following my 40-30-30, but I'm not seeing the result that I want. I go to look into their journals and then I see 300 out of their 1,500 calories for the day allocated to wine. So that's not necessarily going to be a nutrient-dense item that you want to have in your diet consistently. So you do want to make sure that in addition to offering zone of 40-30-30, you remind your clients that your calories have to be of high quality. Now I go a step further and I also recommend that my clients stay away from dairy, but there are actually some diets that promote the use and the consumption of dairy. So the second diet that is pretty popular nowadays is going to be the ketogenic diet. And essentially it's an eating style that teaches your body to run on fat as fuel instead of carbohydrates. So it's a very low carbohydrate diet that gets your body to produce ketones. And ketones are water-soluble molecules produced from the liver, from fatty acids. So in terms of the macronutrient breakdown, it's usually about like 7% carbs, 70% fat, and like, how many do I have? Like 23% protein. I think that's even quite a bit, 23% protein, but it's mainly fat, close to 70%. And the difference between the ketogenic diet and the zone diet is because you have to eat more fat, it allows for certain foods that I might not promote as much on the zone diet, such as bacon, more red meat, some forms of cheeses. But the one thing is, the ketogenic diet usually promotes like fermented cheeses, so like feta. But people go crazy and they think, oh, I can have all the cheese I want. Great. So they put cheddar and Velveeta all over everything, and everything is covered with cheese. But that's not the case. You still want to make sure that your foods are of high quality. So what is accepted in the ketogenic diet and what is not? Now, just because it is a high fat diet doesn't mean that it's also a high protein diet, and that's where people have a lot of trouble. They have a lot of chicken breast. They're used to eating that because that was their healthy way of eating. Whereas now you may want to opt more for a chicken thigh, or if you want to go a little bit better, you're going to want to go for a fattier fish such as salmon or a grass-fed meat, which will have a higher fat content than your typical chicken breast, which is promoted by most health nuts. And then speaking of nuts, you usually consume a fair amount of nuts, and you usually consume a fair amount of MCT and or coconut oils. Now, there are some conditions that do not interact well with the ketogenic diet. So if somebody has gallbladder issues, pancreatitis, kidney issues, some of these issues make it difficult for your body to metabolize fat, and having a high fat diet like the ketogenic diet would not work well for that client. So in any instance when you're going to look to suggest a change in their eating habits, always make sure to defer to the client's healthcare professional, their primary doctor, and let them know the parameters that you're considering operating under to make sure that you're covered and you don't do more harm than good. Now, the last diet is more of a subcultural thing. It's very big in the CrossFit world, and that's the paleo diet. And the assumption with the paleo diet is that we eat in the, like cavemen did in the Paleolithic times. So, if we look at the ketogenic diet, you can have cheese, but with the paleo diet, you actually cannot have cheese. With the ketogenic diet, you're not supposed to have as much fruits because you want your carb intake to be somewhere between 30 and 60 grams. But on the paleo diet, fruits are fine. So the acceptable foods on the paleo diet are going to be grass-fed meats. It's going to be fish and poultry. It's going to be nuts, seeds, fruits, vegetables, and healthy oils. So on the no side, you can't have potatoes, you can't have grains, you can't have legumes, so that means no peanuts, and you can't have dairy. So for some people, eating a lot of protein and then not having these stringent rules of a macronutrient breakdown, that will work well, because the paleo, from what I found, doesn't have a hard and fast understood macronutrient breakdown, whereas the zone and the ketogenic diet do. So you'd have to decide, okay, does my client, do they really like dairy? It's going to be very hard for them to give up. And are they willing to go very low on the carbs? Are they not fans of fruit? If that's the case, maybe the ketogenic diet is going to be best for them. But if they really like their fruit and they can live without cheese, then maybe paleo is going to work for them. Or if they need a mix of everything, but they're just never going to go overboard and they can stay away from the obvious bad foods, then the zone is going to be great for them. Now, if we look across all three diets, they can all agree on a number of things. Decrease your consumption of alcohol, decrease your consumption of sugar, and decrease your consumption of processed carbohydrates and processed food. If you're consuming those three, you're messing up all of those diets. So there's really no wiggle room in that area, specifically if you're looking for fat loss. Now, some people still struggle, and the one accelerator that I usually recommend is intermittent fasting. And essentially, intermittent fasting is a schedule of eating versus non-eating. And there are many different ways to do intermittent fasting. Over the course of a week, you can choose 1 or 2 days where you go 24 hours without eating, or the more popular versions of the intermittent fast. The one that I do is going to be the 18-hour fast, where my eating window is only from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m., or the 16-hour fast, where your window is 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. But you can shift your window earlier or later, so it could be 11 to 7 as long as you have the window of time. And that I found helps people to kind of control their eating a little bit more. The one goal is that you still consume the required number of calories. Just because you're eating in a shorter feeding window, that doesn't mean that you decrease the number of calories. So for some people it's easier, for some people it's more difficult. And the main thing is that you have to break your fast with non-sugary foods, because then your blood sugar is going to go through the roof. So the intermittent fasting tends to work best with the ketogenic diet, because that helps to put your body, the fasting helps to put your body into ketosis a little bit easier. So you might just pair the two up front. But if somebody isn't ready for that kind of discipline of a feeding window versus a fasting window, just choose a diet that's best for them, and I think you'll help them to see more success. Now, how are you going to keep track of them, and how many calories are they supposed to take in? The main way that I make sure that I'm allocating the right amount of calories for my clients is through my FitPro calculator. And that's an application that I developed where you take your client's weight and body fat, and then based on your client's numbers, it will spit out the number of calories that your client wants to take in. It'll give you a range so that you can operate safely. And the FitPro calculator is included free with the Dumbbells to Dollars course, which also includes a section explaining how to eat healthier and how to track your own clients' eating habits. So if you need help learning how to track your clients' foods and how to journal, I definitely recommend that you check out my Dumbbells to Dollars course by going to dumbbells2dollars.com. But that's about it. I hope you found this information helpful. I know a lot of trainers have been asking about what diets are best for their clients, and I just wanted to give you that information. So remember, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comments section below. I haven't been around lately. I've been working on developing an online training course for you guys. So as soon as that's done, I'll make sure to put that out, but I will be here more often, make more videos as long as you ask more questions. And always remember to eat healthy, hydrate, drive safe. Stress levels all, get rest. Don't slap anybody. Love your clients, they'll love you back. I'll see y'all tomorrow or the next day, and you have a good one.